Samsung's Galaxy S22 Ultra up against the Xiaomi 12 Pro. These are both flagship models. We have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 in the Xiaomi 12 Pro, and then I have the European version here of the Galaxy S22 Ultra with the Exynos 2200. So to make things as fair as possible, these both have 12 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage. They're both on their latest firmware updates, and I will be comparing head-to-head the cameras with a small camera comparison. That's video performance, low light, stills, portrait, shots, battery life, charge times, benchmarks, thermal performance, thermal throttling, gaming performance, and their build qualities. To let you know the full pros and cons and the ins and outs of these two phones here and how they compare to one another. But first, a word from our sponsor, Casetify. They sent me out some of their Impact and Impact Crush cases, and I've customized a few of them. So these cases you're able to customize on their website. Plenty of different options, as you can see. You can even put your initials on, for example, like this one here that I have that they made for me. It's got TT for TechTablets on the back of it, or this case right here with my name. So these cases, they're Impact and Impact Crushed cases. Very good. Now they're quite slim, but still offer a lot of protection. You can see the buttons are covered right here, all the ports down the bottom. The camera module there, plenty of protection around that with a raised lip, but it's not adding that much bulk at all to it. And plenty of protection there on the side and the screen from drops. Now because these cases do have a dual layer construction, they have their G-Tech, which is in the inside here, that's supposed to distribute the shocks. So they claim that the drop resistance is up to 6.6 feet or around 2 meters. And the outside of the cases, they do have an antimicrobial coating on them called Defensify. Now this should eliminate up to 99% of bacteria on the outside and the skin of these cases. Now, all of the cases do support wireless charging. It's not going to inhibit that at all, and they are made from 65% recycled plant-based materials. The Impact cases and then the crushed Impact cases are made from upcycled phone cases. So very good protection, and if you're interested in customizing and getting your own case from Casetify here, make sure you go to casetify.com/techtablets today in order to get your 15% off. And what do we get in the box? So we get a Type-C to Type-C cable with the S22 Ultra, some paperwork and a SIM tray tool, whereas with the Xiaomi 12 Pro, we get the usual paperwork, but a TPU case, a Type-C to Type-A cable, and then a 120-watt charger, and then the SIM tray tool. So you certainly get a lot more included with the Xiaomi. Now handling both of these phones, they do feel good. They're heavy phones. The Samsung a little more. So this is 228 grams versus 204 grams. And we do have this matte glass finish on both of them. Gorilla Glass Victus versus Gorilla Glass Victus Plus on the Samsung. The Samsung's finish does tend to pick up the smudges a little more, but they are both quite resistant to those fingerprints, which is good. Now the thickness of them, 8.9 versus 8.3. They both have alloy metal frames around the outside of them, and the Samsung's supposed to be a little bit more scratch resistant there with its finish. You do see the antenna lines, and we've got our buttons on this side, which feel great on both of the models. So both of them on the right-hand side, you see the buttons, volume up and down there, and then on the left, nothing, okay? There's just the frame, the antenna lines there with them. So camera setup, we've got 3 times 50 megapixel cameras here with the Xiaomi, and it's very odd that they went with a 2 times optical 50 megapixel camera, but I do like the fact that we have a 50 megapixel ultra wide with this model. And the Samsung then, we've got a 108 megapixel main camera, a 12 megapixel ultra wide, 10 times optical camera that is 10 megapixels, and a 10 megapixel 3 times optical zoom camera. Now those cameras do have optical image stabilization apart from the ultra wide. Now both of these do have dual speakers, and there will be a loudspeaker sound off test in this particular comparison too, of course. So SIM trays on both are just nano SIMs. 2 of them, we've got 5G support and no micro SD card support there at all. So you can see the downwards firing loudspeakers, And we do have this, which is the silo and the storage here for the S Pen. So if you love your styluses, then that, of course, clearly is the model to go for. You've got the S Pen support where you don't have it at all with the Xiaomi. The other thing the Xiaomi is lacking is this is USB 2.0. Yes, slow USB 2 speeds. And we've got USB 3.2 here, and that supports video out and the faster transfer speeds, and also Samsung DeX as well, which is their desktop mode. Very handy to have. So clearly, in that regard, the Samsung is miles ahead of the Xiaomi. Fingerprint readers on both of them are in screen, and for me, the S22 Ultra is very accurate and very fast. Compare that now to the Xiaomi 12 Pro, which is a little slower, and especially the animation definitely comes in a lot slower there with this model. Then our displays. So we've got AMOLED screens here that are 120 Hz, both of them, both HDR10+, and they both support 1 billion colors. Dynamic AMOLED, LTPO, and they are both QHD plus screens as well, which I'll be running throughout this entire comparison here. So when you do jump into the settings of both of them, I wanted to point out the options we do get, which are really typical of these kind of phones, that you've got lots in there. You can adjust the white balance, reading modes, dark mode, all that is there. Now the refresh rate, you can override that. But the thing is with the Samsung, with the refresh rate, if you go into the motion smoothness, they call it adaptive, you can't actually continually force it to 120 because it's just going to say that it will be adjusting it, but it's not, I believe, actually forcing it the whole time to do that. But I don't really see too much of a difference. Now here with the white backgrounds, you can see there's a bit of a difference with some banding coming through here on the Xiaomi, and the white balance is slightly different between the two panels. That is going to happen. Now, it's, of course, personal preference. Do you prefer the more rectangular or the more rounded edges here? And then we've got the cutouts at the top where you can find a 40 megapixel, then a 32 megapixel camera there. Now, with the other options we get with the resolution, you can change that, of course, and you swap that over on both of them. You can either run Full HD Plus if you wanted to do so, but for this video, I've been keeping both of them on QHD Plus. So gestures on both are very good. What about the brightness? So they do claim that it can get up to 1700 nits versus about 1500 on the Xiaomi, but when I measure them both, they're both around 870 to around almost 900 nits in these conditions. But they are excellent displays on both of them, but if I had to pick one, it's this, the S22 Ultras. Then our UI performance. So both of them do run Android 12, and performance on both is normally pretty good, but I have seen both of them with some optimization issues clearly to me coming through that you sometimes see with the S22 Ultra a few little lags, and when you swipe down and bring down, for example, all your notifications, your toggles even, it will sometimes do a bit of a stutter there. And the same even happens with the Xiaomi, that there is a noticeable bit of animation lag sometimes, especially when you first unlock it. It will display a little spinning icon, then everything will load in, which is unacceptable really on both of these phones with such powerful hardware. Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 versus the Exynos 2200. It really should be a lot better than what it is. And I don't know whether it's an Android 12 thing. I do believe it is, because Android 11 was not really this buggy on both of them. So we do have latest firmware on these, of course. I'm all up to date. There was a big patch that came through with the Exynos version here. And you can even see just then, that felt a little bit slow to me going through the settings with the S22 Ultra. It's very strange. I've done a factory reset and actually waited and delayed this video just because I waited for that firmware update, and it really hasn't improved things. It just did initially. So MIUI 13 versus, of course, OneUI 4.1 here. And I have to give both of them a bit of a thumbs down at the moment because of the bugs on both. This is frozen on me. This one has rebooted on me too as well. So they're very far from stable. They both almost feel like they're running beta firmware. It's that bad. When you do power on your nice brand new shiny phone, there are some bloatware applications. So Spotify, Amazon shipping, Facebook, TikTok, you get on both of these, and you do need to uninstall some of those, of course, if you don't want them. I classify these apps as bloat, and there's about 7 or 8 of them, but there's no advertising on the Xiaomi, no advertising so far that I've seen on the Samsung, but normally they do have that notification that pops through with Samsung members, which is kind of like advertising too and annoying. And one of them was to buy the S22 Ultra, but hello, I've already got it. Anyway, charge times, 26 minutes to go from 6% to 100 with the 120 watt charging with the Xiaomi. Clearly wins on our charge speeds. Now just ignore this, please. This got all messed up because what happened is the charger disconnected and then connected again, so it didn't record it properly. But I had manually timed it too as well. I was keeping an eye on the time. It took just 1 hour and 3 minutes, which isn't bad for a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, but it's certainly not going to win any speed awards there. So it's slow. It is slow, the Samsung compared to the Xiaomi, which just absolutely kills it there with the speed. Internal storage, now this is just for reference here. Don't focus too much on this because really it makes no difference. They're both very quick here. So you can see sequential reads slightly faster with the Exynos here. Random reads faster on the Samsung, but the Xiaomi had the fastest random write. So install speeds of apps could be a little bit faster there. But really, real world, you're not going to see any difference. Antutu here are the scores. There's not much of a difference at all in them. Around about approximately 6,000 points there, or 60,000 should I say, when it comes to the GPU with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. That's about it. So here on paper, they look very similar. It went up 14 degrees, the Xiaomi, in that test where we went up 9.5 there with the S22 Ultra with the Samsung. However, look at this difference here. This is where there's some big gaps. So the best score on the Xiaomi is low compared to what we got here with the S22 Ultra getting over 2,200. However, the Xiaomi only throttled 0.4% its performance, where we lost 38% of the performance with the Samsung. I know there's been a lot going on with them throttling certain applications. It's not good at all to see, and you can clearly see this result too later on in gaming. When you game for long periods, especially in demanding games, you'll see that the constant performance and better frame rates are pulling through always on this one here, the Xiaomi 12 Pro. So both of them have Safetynet status pass, and we both had Wi-Fi level 1, but there's a difference here that we don't have. Amazon Prime Video, at least with this model, is not showing in full HD, but it is with the S22 Ultra, which is good. And Netflix, of course, that on both of them is in 1080p. And then we've got Camera 2 API level support maximum, level 3 with the Xiaomi, but only full support, which is still actually good. It's fine. You don't need to get root access on this phone to be able to use, say, Gcam, ports, or open camera. You can use them on both. And then GPS, well, quite a bit of a difference there when it came to the average signal strength. Slightly better on the Samsung, okay? But they're both pretty good. They both cap out at 3 meters of accuracy there. They won't get down to 1 like the MediaTek chipsets can. Battery life here. Okay, so both of them running QHD resolution, and I just let this run. It's a fixed test at 200 nits, so it's not real-world use here, but at least it's fixed, okay? So they both ran the same exact thing, so we can gauge this, that yes, the Xiaomi battery life is worse, and I'm seeing this too in real life. So real-life performance, I am getting around 6.5 hours of on-screen time with the Xiaomi 12 Pro, which I'm disappointed in that battery life. I think it should be a little bit better. And then the S22 Ultra, I'm only seeing around maximum the same, about 7 hours. Could possibly squeeze it out to 7.5. I wish it was a little better. It's not brilliant either, but it has been improving because when I first got it, I was only getting about 5.5 hours of screen on time with the S22 Ultra, and I was always getting about the same with this one. So the best battery life is definitely the S22 Ultra out of these two. Audio quality now on both of them. So they are, after all, phones. And I do find that for voice calls, the S22 Ultra sounds the best to my ears and the other end too. But I've actually been cheating and phoning myself and then listening to the quality with my SIM cards and various phones I've got. But it's that one. That one is a little clearer. The voice just sounds better with the microphones on the Samsung. But what about Type-C to 3.5 millimeter? You can use an adapter, and I did find again that the S22 Ultra, for me, my ears, this is all personal preference, was the best there. And then the loudspeaker, so downward firing, then the earpiece, and then out the top here, Harman Kardon tuned versus AKG. Let's have a listen to them now with both of the volumes set at 100%. I'll just confirm that. Both of them are at 100%. So first I'll play the Xiaomi. So they are very different in the way they sound. The volume is much better on the S22 Ultra, but it doesn't have quite as much bass, interesting enough, as the Xiaomi 12 Pro. So it really depends on personal preference. Then onto gaming. So just like what we saw with the graph there with 3DMark's extreme test wildlife, that it will be steady, the frame rate, and it doesn't really throttle. But the trade-off, of course, is heat. This phone is going to generate a lot more heat, especially around this area where the chipset is, compared to the S22 Ultra, which I'll check out. So current frame rate now that I do get in this area of the map is normally about 50 frames per second, sometimes 60, with dips down to about 40. And I don't really see any big major lags or stuttering. But let's have a look now at the S22 Ultra. Now, straight off the bat, even with the same settings, it has a bit of lag that you see in the menus just going into it. Sometimes I've seen some quite serious lag here that should not be happening when you're doing this, all right? And just moving around, it feels a lot more choppier on the S22 Ultra than the Xiaomi. So again, it's like what I said with that 3DMark score, that, there we go, see that choppiness? It's clearly no way near as good, and this is very disappointing from Samsung, how they have, look at that lag, how they have just throttled, especially this game, right down to stop it from getting too warm for those thermals. It just feels to me like it's completely unoptimized. And yes, I've used the game booster mode here for the Samsung to try and achieve the best possible performance. But even looking around there, it just feels choppy and laggy. Okay, so let's have a look at those temperatures now. And this first up is the Samsung. So we're reaching 38 degrees on the back of the S22 Ultra, and then the front of it is 40, okay? 45, 41 almost. So that's not too bad. They're clearly throttling it to me. I can see that with the performance. And the Xiaomi now, we are looking at 41, 42 here. This is the front of it. For some reason, the camera just opened up. And then the back here, a little bit warmer, around 40, but not really that much of a difference there, but it does feel a lot hotter to me. And around the frame here, you can see reaching about, 42 degrees. So there's not really a lot in it. It's only a couple of degrees more on the Xiaomi 12 Pro, but it does heat up quite quickly, whereas it's very gradual with the Samsung S22 Ultra. And over to our camera performance. So unfortunately, I still have really bad weather, but it doesn't matter because it's equal conditions for both of these, of course. And it's more real world kind of stuff. Not every day is a perfect day. So you can see with the front facing cameras, there's a big difference here because we do have 4K with the Samsung S22 Ultra. And with the Xiaomi 12 Pro, it's only 1080p. Now, both of them do have electronic image stabilization, which is working quite well on both. And I just jog, can't really jog ahead on my balcony here, but just jump around and move around a little to see which one here looks the smoothest. But for me, the clear winner, yes, is that S22 Ultra. It just simply cannot compete the Xiaomi 12 Pro when it comes to the front camera. So 40 megapixels versus 32. And I do hope in the future that Xiaomi can finally one day add 4K support to their front-facing cameras, which is just ridiculous now in 2022. They don't have it. 4K video now. So they can, both of them shoot 8K 24 frames per second, 4K 60, 4K 30. And we're looking at what is called a fire here. This is in the community of Valencia in Spain. And it's something they do every year, and they actually end up burning these, which is quite a surprise, but that's what they do. So zoom out here on the 12 Pro, the Xiaomi. We go to the ultra wide now, and on the fly you can do the same with the S22 Ultra. So walk around a little. Which one has the best electronic image stabilization? A bit of a jog. And let's zoom in now a little bit. So it will swap over the Xiaomi once you get to 2 times over to the 2 times optical camera, which is what you're looking at now. And I can go 3 times here with the Xiaomi. I just wanted to walk around a little bit, focusing on this face right here. mean, the detail in this art is so good. Some of these faces and all that work, and they're just going to burn it all, which is pretty incredible. So 10 times optical now with the S22 Ultra, and I'll just increase that to the maximum that I can do here with the Xiaomi, which is also, well, that's 10 times right now, but digital, so it looks nowhere near as good as what we do have, of course, with the S22 Ultra. Now, if I was going to be picking one of these phones out of these two, if you need the stylus, clearly you get the S22 Ultra. But the S22 Ultra has the best battery life, the best screen, the best build quality, the best vlog video performance, the better microphones, and in general, the better audio. However, it was really interesting to see that performance, sustained performance that is, when gaming like Genshin Impact, the Xiaomi 12 Pro was better. Exactly like that 3DMark Wildlife Extreme test result showed us constant, steady performance, basically zero throttling, no throttling. Only 0.4% it throttled down to the performance, whereas the S22 Ultra, the Exynos 2200 there, throttled down 38, or was it 36%, which is a lot, and I just saw that throughout. Now, both of these phones, the UIs, the optimization, and Android 12 in general, I really want to stress this, both of them have issues. The Exynos version here especially quite laggy in the menu, swiping down the toggles, and even going through the menu in Genshin Impact was quite laggy, and just the general performance a bit choppy compared to what I was seeing here. So there's a big difference. But both of the firmwares on them are far from what I would call a stable firmware. This randomly reboots at times, completely. One time it went into factory recovery mode. Don't know why, but it did it. And this sometimes has locked up completely in certain apps. You get apps timing out on you, and it is a mess, really. It's still not good. It needs another big bug fix update, and I hope Samsung can address the performance on this to improve it yet again, because I do have that patch which apparently was meant to stop apps from throttling so soon, but it's still doing it. It's still a big issue. So neither of them are really perfect, but yes, out of these two, I would go for the S22 Ultra there from Samsung. So thank you so much for watching this comparison. Do check out my other comparison videos. And a big thank you to Casetify for sponsoring this video. Without their help, I would not have been publishing this comparison here. So do check out www.casetify.com/TechTablets for a discount on their cases for the S22 Ultra.